Let's talk about earthing, the best kept health secret out there. And I'm going to give you 5 benefits to earthing, explain what it is and how you do it. Hey, thanks so much for being here and clicking on this video about earthing. I'm Dr. Kelly, and this is one of my favorite things to talk about right now because it's so simple and it can be so powerful for your energy, can help with reducing inflammation naturally, and also your overall feeling of being energized, but the kind of energized that's also grounded and clear. And that word grounding is going to come up again. And because earthing is really about literally being grounded on the earth's surface. So I'm going to break it down for you what it is. And we're going to just keep talking about these benefits that you get. I'll throw in a little bit of the research for those of you who like the science. If you're interested in more of the science and you want to dig deep for yourself, I'm all about that. I think that's fabulous. You can go to the Earthing Institute. So earthinginstitute.net. And all of the research is actually on that. You can just click right on the link. It'll take you straight to the articles. There are about 21 or so now, maybe a couple more than that recently. In 2022, there have been a couple of new studies on earthing and the benefits of that. So somewhere around 21, 22, 23 studies for you to check out. There are a lot more papers. And there are many more stories. So if you're interested, like me, I'm a qualitative researcher. I like to hear the stories and be inspired by the people who have benefited from this thing called earthing. You can check out the documentary. It's called The Earthing Movie. You can find it for free here on YouTube, and it is worth your time. I really think it is if you're an auditory learner like I am, or if you are a visual person, you might really like that. So you can check out all of those resources to learn for yourself, but also you could just try it. So what is earthing? What am I talking about? It is literally putting your skin, our skin, human skin, on the Earth's surface. So any of Earth's surfaces will work. You can be grass or dirt or sand or rocks or plain concrete. What doesn't work is asphalt and tar and some of these rubber and synthetic kind of tops that basically what we put in kids' playgrounds and at schools for the kids to play on is actually non-conductive. So what you're talking about is being able to utilize this natural asset that we have from the Earth's surface that helps us reduce inflammation. So how does that work? What does this mean? All right, I'm going to tell you. So I look at everything through a trauma lens because I'm a trauma-trained counselor, been in clinical mental health for a long time. So I always kind of have that lens of like trauma and mental health. But I'm really interested in optimal health and helping everybody have a better experience of health and vitality. Okay, so know that. And I am always really putting it in the context of quantum biology. And what quantum biology has or is teaching us, it's taught me and it's teaching us, is that what we knew about humans and using Newtonian science that we all learned, which has its place, it just doesn't explain everything, right? So now we have this new frontier of science and quantum biology that is so exciting because it explains a lot more and we can help more people. So I'm really interested in the applied quantum biology and how to actually get this information so that it helps people. Okay. But what you have to do, what I suggest you do is to start shifting your thinking from thinking about human beings as chemical and mechanical to thinking about us as electrical. So we are electrical beings first. Yes, we have chemical reactions going on, but those are quite slow. And thinking about us from a mechanical perspective hasn't been super helpful in explaining, particularly in mental health, right? So when we think of ourselves, when you start to go, oh, we're really electrical beings, you are light, actually. So on electrical, from this electrical standpoint, we run best on a negative charge. So all of our cells, they run best on this negative charge. Those are electrons. So you think of protons being positive charge and electrons negative charge. You've also got neutrons, the neutral one, um, so you're like, okay, so what does this have to do? Like quantum being the smallest of things, subatomic particles, electrons, protons, photons of light, phonons of sound, and what that has to do with the body. So biology. So these kinds of little smaller kind of things that we think of are actually driving some of the bigger picture, some of the bigger things going on in the body. Really exciting. But what it boils down to is we run on a negative charge. That's how we run best. And guess what? The Earth is full of electrons. The Earth's surface is naturally always full of these free electrons. And so when we are grounded, that's what that literally, the word grounding means different things in different contexts. And we'll go over that in a second. But just what it literally means is that we are like a grounding rod in the ground. So when we put our skin, and so it could be hands, any skin, our feet walking barefoot on the Earth's surface, we are just naturally and instantaneously absorbing those free electrons from the Earth's surface, which helps with reducing inflammation. It increases circulation, which naturally thins the blood and keeps everything running really beautifully in the body. Do you want to caution people who are on a blood thinner? When you incorporate more and more earthing, you're probably already getting your INR checked. I'm not sure, but whatever physician, I guess if you're on Xarelto, you maybe aren't doing the INR anymore. But you want to get your work with your physician and say, look, I'm going to be doing this earthing. It's supposed to be thinning my blood. I want to make sure I don't get too thin because of my medication. So tons of benefits to earthing. It is you can look at the literature yourself. I highly, don't take my word for it. Look, and also just see for yourself. Start putting your skin, your bare feet or your hands on trees or bushes, especially if it's freezing where you are. You want to do what you can. But certainly when it's warm enough to take your shoes off and walk around on the Earth's surface and start doing it regularly. If it's super freezing or you're really, really sick, you can get grounding mats. You can there are sheets, there are pillowcases, there are things that you can do to actually increase the opportunity to do that grounding inside, but you don't have to buy anything. You do not have to. This is natural, free outside. And so the more you can just sort of dig into it yourself and watch the earthing movie, see what you think, look at some of the research. A lot of research, and my favorite study was from Clint Oberst, just funded it himself. And he was a guy that was retired. He made his money in the cable industry and had a health crisis, actually, and completely changed his life. He sold everything and sold all of his beautiful, amazing, expensive art and got an RV and started spending more time in nature. But that's not actually how he figured out earthing. He had just been messing with a computer. This computer kept crashing and it was having static. So he rigged some way to ground it so that it wouldn't have the static and it wouldn't crash. And you think about a human body, a lot of static, a lot of illness, a lot of inflammation, and then it starts to crash, and then it's inflamed, a body that's on fire. Same thing when you wire up a house, and he started kind of putting this together of like when they would run cable, you had to ground it. When you run electric into a house or into a building, you've got to make sure it's grounded. Why? For on the low end, it's so you don't have static in the TVs and stuff, but it was also because you don't want to blow the place up. So electrical fires. So you got everything from a little bit of static to, blowing up a TV or causing a house fire. Same kind of concept with the human body, right? Inflamed, we want to ground it so that it reduces all the static and the inflammation. But the way Clint figured this out is he had just done this thing with the computer, and they just happened to see a bus of tourists, and they were all pouring off of the bus, and they all looked like they had just been to the outlet mall and had gotten white tennis shoes, and they were all in these like Nike white tennis shoes. And it just dawned on him, like, I wonder if all of these chronic health issues are related to the fact that people just aren't grounded anymore. And it just started, he just started kind of thinking about it. So he rigged a grounding cord and grounded himself while he slept, and realized, instantaneously, like the next day, he couldn't believe his improvement in his sleep and his pain. He had chronic back pain. So he started, talking about this, and some of his friends said, "Hey, can you ground me when I sleep?" And so he was just doing that for people to feel better. And it wasn't just him. It was other people started, miraculously having less pain, better sleep. So those are the early studies. And a lot of the studies are on better sleep, restorative sleep, and the benefits of earthing and being physically grounded for sleep and for pain. The newer studies in 2022, there was the most recent study, I think, was on COVID-19 patients, also in mild Alzheimer's. So, this is the area where you can see a lot of improvement. What I like as a qualitative researcher are the stories. I love hearing the inspirational stories of people who are skeptical, maybe even, and they just tried it. So I started incorporating earthing. I was really focused on being outdoors for light, because your light environment, light and food, and these absorbing electrons, this is foundational for optimal health. I've got lots of other videos on like mitochondrial health and quantum biology and mental health and things that, different things that you can check out, all of this information. I want to keep it pretty focused to just earthing, but know that this is a piece to a bigger puzzle, a bigger picture of health. And it's an important piece. I think it's a really incredible discovery. Clint is not the only person. Now there have been people have been talking about this for a long time, but the actual studies, you also got a father-son team in Poland that are researching. The dad, I think, is a cardiologist, and the son is a neurosurgeon. And their research is showing that when you ground people, when people are grounded to the Earth's surface, absorbing those free electrons through their skin, that is, they call it a primary factor in endocrine health and also the nervous system. So in regulating the endocrine system and the nervous system, we know in the mental health world that our emotions are intrinsically connected to our immune system. So we know that inflammation is related to mental health. Metabolic health is also related to mental health. I would also argue nutrients and nutrient deficiencies, but still, we're finding out like a bigger picture. It's not just this chemical reactions or this mechanical kind of approach. We're thinking about it more in terms of mitochondrial health and in terms of a much broader picture of this quantum communication that's going on through the body. So electrons, what moves electrons through the body? The mitochondria. That's its job. It's an electron transport chain. So these mitochondria turn out to be a really important piece of it. And healthy mitochondria drive health, and dysfunctional mitochondria drive disease through inflammation. So earthing is just one way that we can absorb these electrons, because if you're losing a lot of electrons, if your mitochondria are weak and dysfunctional, they kind of swell from step to step. And so you get lost electrons, which is reactive oxygen species, which is inflammation. So when you're like, oh, okay, this is starting to make sense, and these electrons are really important, bingo. The electrons are really important. And one natural way that we have to absorb more electrons is in the Earth's surface, by putting our skin on our surface. So a lot of people will say to me, oh no, I'm spending a lot of time in nature. And my question to you is, in what shoes? Is any skin hitting the earth's surface? Nature's awesome. Light and being in natural light has a lot to do with health. If you haven't seen any of my videos on that, check them out because light is a key. It's really important. But in terms of this earthing, so you've got restorative sleep, you're absorbing electrons. I do think the neutrons are important too, by the way, not just protons and electrons, but the neutrons too. But you're absorbing these electrons. So it's helping you with energy. It's helping with sleep. It's helping with pain. The benefits are really quite incredible. So what are these 5 benefits of earthing? Gathering those electrons, more energy, better sleep, reduced inflammation, and less pain. So I encourage you to check it out for yourself, to just play with it, see if it makes sense to you. I think that is all I wanted to share about the earthing. You can check out my classes. I do have a class coming out. I have a class on mitochondria. We break it down, so it's a little bit easier to digest. So some are just about really focusing on the nutrition piece of it. Some focus on light and mitochondria. You can take the ones that make sense for you, but I would love to have you in one of the workshops because we can go really deep and we can answer all of your questions. So join me for one of the workshops. And of course, leave comments because in any questions that you have, I try to answer them with more videos. So thanks for being here. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. That is very helpful. And I just am glad that you're here. So happy healing.